is an incredibly gorgeous day in Los Angeles today, and I am so excited because today I'm launching my very first episode of People Who Inspire, and you guys, I literally could not have a better first guest for you. I'm so excited for you to meet her. Let's go.
Change other people's lives, give love, even for a moment, use my name for good. Happiness is all I have, so la da 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 dee. You're not breaking me. La dee da da da. Ain't got time for you. Sing it, la da 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 dee.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shay. Thank you so much for joining me, especially today because I'm launching my very first episode of a brand new series called People Who Inspire, and I could not have a better first guest.
Stop.
Sazan Hendrix. I mean, you inspire so many people. Honestly, you guys probably know who she is. She's one of the top bloggers basically in the country for fashion. So many people are inspired by you because of your fashion sense and your personality and your kindness, and people are just drawn to you for all of those reasons. But what inspires me most about you is a side that like so much of the world doesn't even know, and that's your—
There's a lot they don't know.
Yes, and that's your journey to faith. And I am just so excited to be able to share this with everyone because really it has made a huge impact on me. And so I knew that when I wanted to launch a series that you had to be the first person that I talked to.
Aww. You know what's crazy is like it's perfect timing because I've been thinking about like, when is that time going to come?
Yeah.
When I have the opportunity and it's in the right setting with the right person to actually share that side of my life, because it is personal, you know?
Looking back over your life, I mean, you're married now. You've been married how long? Like almost a year?
Almost a year, you guys.
That's amazing.
It's gonna be a year in May.
You're married, you're a Hendrix now, you're a Christian. Looking back, I mean, if you go back to your childhood, you were raised so differently.
Totally.
You were raised in a Muslim household. Would you ever have imagined that you would be here? Like your life would look like this right now?
No.
As a kid?
You know, never in a million years. You know, my family, the way we grew up was like ethnically, culturally, we were Muslim.
Right.
Did that mean that we were praying several times a day and fasting during Ramadan and things like that? No, we weren't.
Did you have like expectations as far as who you would date, who you would marry? Like,
you know what? My parents, they really just loved their kids. And so they really were protective over us. And so they were saying, no boys until you get married.
so you're like, you weren't even allowed to date, period.
I was not allowed to date.
Okay. So you were in Texas. You went to college in Texas, and that's where you met Stevie, who wasn't Kurdish, who wasn't Muslim.
So far from the Kurdish
He's
spectrum.
literally the opposite. I feel like even just from knowing your story, your life takes a turn.
A huge turn, and that's really a great way to put it, because when I met Stevie that year, it was like 2011, and I was in college, and I was actually getting out of a relationship at the time. Stevie was just a friend to me. I didn't look at him and think, oh, I like that boy. Of course I thought he was cute, you know?
But you, in your head, were you like, okay, this would never happen because he's not Kurdish?
Yeah, I didn't even allow myself to go there and to even look at him in that way, because I knew that what that meant. It meant, you know, I would potentially sacrifice my relationship with my family and cut that off. So I didn't even go there. And I just fell in love with his personality, and we started hanging out more, and we did our nightly newscast together.
No way!
There's so many archive videos.
Okay, I'm going to have to pull one for this. We're going to have to like slip one in. Insert video of Saz and Steve.
Thanks for joining us on NTTV Nightly News. I'm Steve Hendrix.
And I'm Sazan Barzani. Here's what's crazy. I was in my car in college. It was one night. Steve and I would just talk for hours. You know, he's my friend.
Yeah.
And I was just telling him all about my breakup with this guy. And he felt so sorry for me. And he was like, you know, he's like, you just seem so hurt. Like, you have so many questions. He's like, you know, you told me that you've been praying every night since you were a kid. Who are you praying to? And I was like, what does that even mean? I was like, I'm praying to God. And he's like, but when you're praying, who are you talking to? And I was like, well, since I was a kid, I've been doing the, you know, the Muslim chant that, you know, we say before.
Right, because you're raised, you're raised.
You know, there's a certain thing that you say. It's called ashadu, and I would do it. And, you know, and then I would speak my prayer in Kurdish and everything, but it was always the same every night.
Yeah.
So he said, when you go home tonight, he's like, and I really trusted him. He was like, you know, when you go home tonight, he's like, why don't you just pray how you just would talk to me, for example, or talk to a friend. Just say like, hey God, who are you? Reveal yourself to me, and just make it clear through my dreams, because my dreams are just, I have a spiritual gift I can just tell so many things are coming with like through my dreams. It's weird.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, fine. I was at that point so depressed and desperate.
You were
for
desperate for
I
anything.
needed
You're
a
like,
sign.
God, give me something.
So I was like, okay, fine. And so I went home that night, and I kid you not, like as I'm getting ready for bed and I'm getting ready to pray, that was the first time since I was 8 years old where I didn't do it. I didn't pray to Muhammad. I didn't pray to anybody.
Wow.
I just prayed in my voice, and I said, hey, God, what's up? Like, who are you?
Yeah.
Reveal yourself to me. And that night, I literally had a dream that I was in a church worshiping Jesus' name.
Had you ever been in a church?
I had never been in a church. I didn't even know what really
That's
worshiping
unbelievable.
meant, but I was like, both of my hands were raised in this dream, and I was amongst a crowd of just people in a church.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's
I was just
amazing.
worshiping Jesus' name. And I was like, oh my gosh. I woke up the next day and I told Stevie, and he was just so like, he was shocked. I mean, he wasn't expecting that either, but he was just like, wow. And then for like 2 weeks straight after that, Shay, my dreams, I was getting to know Jesus through my dreams. Yeah, the rest is history.
That's so amazing. And I just love how God speaks to everyone in different ways. Yeah. You know, dreams were very special to you. So God came to you on your level in a way that you would understand to make that personal connection with you, which is so incredible. Yeah. You have this dream, you had this encounter with the Lord, and over the next year, your relationship with Stevie starts to grow and turn into a little bit more, and you start dating, and then you come to the place where now you're not only faced with having to tell your family, by the way, I believe in Jesus now, but also, by the way, I'm dating a Christian white boy from Texas. Yeah. So talk to me about that, because I know that was like probably one of the toughest times of your whole life.
It was. I ended up telling my parents that I was a Christian long before I ended up telling them about Stevie. Okay. For some reason in my mind, I felt like it was easier for me to tell them. You can ease into it. It was actually just as hard. So August of 2014, I came back from a trip from the Middle East, and Stevie and I, we were just really thinking about marriage. And Steve was like, I can't ask you to be my wife until...
If your parents don't know that you're dating
me. He was so respectful the entire time. He's like, they need to know, and he just was constantly encouraging me. And I was like, Stevie, it's easier said than done. Like, I can't do it.
I remember you said to me, you couldn't tell your parents about Stevie until you were ready to be completely cut off, because you knew at that moment that you were risking like losing financial support, losing emotional support, losing that relationship. It wasn't just about Stevie. It was really about taking a stand for not only the man that you're choosing to marry, but for God. It just blows my mind the amount of like courage and strength you had to have in that moment. So tell me like when you told them.
I told my dad first, because I was like, he deserves to know. He's the man of the house. And so I just remember before telling my dad, I went into my room and I just said a little prayer to myself, and I was like, God, I'm at the edge of the cliff. And I've done all that I can do. Yeah. I'm literally about to jump, and the rest is going to be in your hands. Like, you have to catch me. Like, I don't know what's going to happen once I jump. And it was literally one of those moments when I 100% gave my heart to the Lord, because the Lord was all I had in that moment. Like, I knew I was about to like lose my dad in that moment. When I told him, I finally felt that anxiety just like rushing out of my body. Like, it just left the fear, the anxiety. I can't describe it, because it wasn't easy after I told him. Like, it was just like, whoa. But the healing process had begun. And so I just felt so free in that moment. And it was the craziest day of my life that I'll never forget. Just a few weeks later, I finally came public about it through my blog and through my online network, because so many people didn't know about Stevie either. And so I finally felt like my parents know, and I need to share that in my other life as well. And then you guys basically got engaged like soon after that. Yeah. And people thought I was pregnant. They were like, you must be pregnant. They're like, she's doing a shotgun wedding. You're like, no, really. Is that what they call it? A shotgun wedding? Okay. That's what everybody thought. And I literally remember Stevie, the night he proposed to me, like, I came back to Frisco, which is where I was at with my family, and I couldn't have my ring on when I walked into the house, because like my parents had just found out that we were dating, and then he proposes to me, and I literally am like looking at my beautiful ring on the way home, and I'm like, I have to take this off until I, and for the next couple of days until I leave Texas, because it just would have been too much for my parents to handle learning about an engagement on same top of weekend else. Or week they had found out. And so I can't imagine it definitely must have been hard for them. There's so much that would have and could have made this like the worst season of your life, but yet God's grace and hand was on it. And really just like for me, even being a part of like seeing you plan the wedding and being there on the wedding day, to me, the one thing that I can say as far as like what characterized it the most was just God's overwhelming grace, and how
in every area of your life that was like lacking there. Like, I mean, the reality was like your parents weren't there to walk you down the aisle. Like any person, and like I'm gonna cry talking about it, but like any person would be hysterical.
Yeah.
You know?
And a lot of people don't know that, you know, like I purposely have kept that very secretive because it's not something that, for me growing up, it's crazy, but I always knew that like there would be a chance my parents wouldn't be at my wedding. It was like a crazy thing that I always felt when I was a kid.
Like God prepared you for it in a weird way.
In a weird way. And, you know, I asked myself, like, how am I going to feel on my wedding day? That was I had a little bit of fear. I was like, am I going to be crying because my parents aren't there? Granted, all my siblings were there and it was such a small wedding and I loved it. But I was like, am I going to be crying when like my mom isn't there to like tie my dress and things like that? Like it's emotional. And even now when I really think about it, you know, it makes me really sad. But I just felt God, my heavenly Father, being there. The whole day, it was a God thing.
It was really special. Like I even remember driving there. I was thinking like, wow, I wonder what her tone is going to be. Like, how is she going to feel? From the second I saw you, you just had this like supernatural joy. And it was like such an undescribable feeling to be there because every single person that was there understood the weight of this decision that you were making, not only to make Stevie your husband, but you guys were really beginning a new life together.
I cannot describe to you the feeling that I had. Like seeing Stevie at the end of that aisle was like, it truly felt like, and I'm gonna cry now. It truly felt like I was like about to make it to the finish line, you know, with like everything going on in my life and everything that
issues. Like, I think we both need them.
You know, just everything that past year that had gone on in my life.
It was like all worth it at that moment.
Seeing him at the end of that aisle was like, and every step that I was walking closer to Stevie was like, this is your future now. This is your new life. This is your new chapter. And like, I just didn't look back. And this is the same thing with my life is I don't look back 1 second and say like, oh, I wish I should have done this or I should have done that. Like I have absolutely no regrets.
It's amazing.
I should have worn water professor.
So what would you say to, I mean, you have so many people that are going through it and that are like in the midst of those tough times where it's like so much seems to be against me, but I know God is calling me to this.
It's crazy to me like what God is doing in my life because like literally I'll have a bad night, like whether it's just arguing about something with my family or just dealing with a negative comment on social media or whatever. And then this happened recently. I wake up that next morning, I look at the email and there's a handful of emails from girls around the world dealing with a similar situation with interracial marriage. And I'm just shocked because it is 2016 and I sometimes like in my situation felt like I'm probably the only person in this world that like is having to deal with this.
For you, it's like your faith is what really sustained you through the toughest part of that. Yeah. And I mean, I can't imagine how you would have had to deal with it without your faith, you know, without that personal relationship with God. Because that to me is even, I've seen it. Like I have literally seen how God has carried you through situations that to normal people would like give you a breakdown.
And that's what people ask me in the email. They say, how did you do it? How did you, almost like I've just figured it out.
Yeah.
They're like, how did you do it? And how did you figure it out? And how did your parents come around and all of these things?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't even take the credit for it because I don't know how I did it. Like it was seriously 100% God, literally both of God's hands on my life. And why God chose me, I don't know. I just feel so blessed now that like, it's just been crazy. And already God has just, he's been so loyal with his promises, like just the relationship with my parents. It's just from what it was a year ago to now, it's just been so incredible to see how that is coming around in such a short period of time. And it's still something I'm working on every day, but to see that like God is still got his hands on the situation, it's incredible. And what I tell these girls in these emails when they ask me like, how did you do it? The truth is I say the same thing that Stevie told me over 4 years ago. And that's, you know, when you pray tonight at bed, just whoever it is that you pray to, just ask him to reveal himself to you and to make that clear. And it really, it's all come full circle, as you can see. Crazy.
I literally like wish that we could do this for 2 hours.
I know.
Do you see, like, how am I going to ever be able to follow up this
She's
time
so
right now?
amazing though at like interviewing because it takes a lot for me to get comfortable because I'm always in my own head. But she like made me cry. Crazy.
I didn't make you cry. I'm just so thankful that you allowed me and chose me to share your story because it's so incredible, and I know so many people are going to be inspired by it. And you guys, this is just the first one.
I know. Can I just say, Shay told me about this whole idea that she had, and I just felt like, whoa, this is going to be an incredible thing because this is her gift. Like, you're so good at speaking to people, and yeah, you have the personality and you're gorgeous, but like, you know how to have real deep conversations without being awkward. And it's genuine. Like, she literally is like teary-eyed this whole interview, and it makes me feel so comfortable. And like, that's just how I know. Like, we have a Bible study that we have every like 2 weeks, and you know, that's one of the things that like we prayed about for Shay was, you know, we hope that this new journey and this new series that she starts is just going to be a blessing, you know, that God has put into her life. And I just feel like after this interview, it's like, oh my gosh, like I want a copy of this. So that one day,
I'll give you a copy.
I'm going to be like, I was the first one.
Yes.
It's amazing.
So you guys, thank you so much for watching Saz. I love you so
I
much.
love you.
I love you. I'm going to put all of her information, subscribe to her YouTube, follow her on Instagram. Of course, subscribe to my channel as well so you can see more of these videos coming up.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys so much. Mwah.
Wait, should we do the Saz sign off? Until next time.
Mwah. Mwah. Bye, guys.
Okay, Saz, 3 things that inspire you.
Off the top of my head,
Yes,
hot Cheetos,
they inspire me too.
warm fireplaces, and Stevie's freckles.
Oh, Stevie's freckles!
Yeah, that's what inspires me.
Happiness is all I have.
Stay tuned for the next installment of People Who Inspire coming Thursday, May 26th. I'll be chatting with the one and only Lisa Duftari. Not only is she super fabulous, but she is a Fox News analyst, a counterterrorism expert. This girl is so fierce that she is on Al-Qaeda's hit list for the stance that she takes for human rights around the world. She is such an inspiration to me, and I know you guys are going to love her as much as I do. So make sure you subscribe to my channel so you can be among the first to know when my next episode of People Who Inspire premieres right here on May 26th. Love you guys.